Hey there, and welcome to the Herbal Moon Goddess Show. In today's episode, we're going to be exploring the solstice and what you can do to harness the energy of the solstice, no matter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere celebrating the winter solstice, or if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and celebrating the summer solstice coming up in June. So either way, no matter which hemisphere you're in, this episode is going to be so relevant for you. So we're coming up to the June solstice right now. And the solstice, no matter if you're in the Southern Hemisphere or the Northern Hemisphere, solstices are always times of change. It's a turning point in the year. So let's talk about the winter solstice coming up in the Southern Hemisphere first, and then I'll share about the summer solstice coming up for those in the Northern Hemisphere. So this solstice in June, on June 21st, for us in the Southern Hemisphere, it marks the winter solstice. And if you follow the wheel of the year, perhaps you'll be celebrating Yule on the winter solstice as well. So the winter solstice marks the shortest day of the year and the longest night. And it's at this point of the year that it makes a really good time for reflecting on how far you've come over the past 6 months, reflecting back and thinking about all those amazing things that you've achieved since the summer solstice. Like, what have you been working really hard on and brought to completion over the past 6 months? And now, as we kind of come to that turning point, and it's kind of like marking a new year as the days start to get longer, we can think about what seeds we want to sow now for what we want to create later in the year. So what would you like to start creating or manifesting for the next 6 months? What would you like to achieve by the summer solstice in December? So for those of you who are in the north, the energy is kind of reversed. For you right now, we're coming up to the longest day of the year, the summer solstice. So depending how far north you are, you'll probably have quite a number of hours of daylight in your day and a shorter night. And so this is kind of like the peak energy of your year. And so you've probably been working really hard as these warmer months have encouraged you to come out of hibernation, and you've been working really hard towards your goals with this heightened summer energy. So now reflecting back on what you've created so far and what you need to wrap up, what you need to bring to completion as the days begin to get a bit shorter and as we kind of wind down for that hibernation for winter, which for you will be occurring around the December solstice. So what do you need to complete over these next 6 months? What would you like to finish up? What do you need to finish creating? So I have a few journal questions for you. No matter whether you're in the winter solstice or the summer solstice, I'd love for you to jot down these questions and in your own time, or perhaps pause this podcast episode and tune in to those answers that are coming through. So your first journal question is, what are my biggest or favorite accomplishments from the past 6 months? So what are those things that you feel really proud of achieving, creating, manifesting, or accomplishing over these past 6 months? Feel free to pause and write down what comes to mind. Your second question is, what are you feeling called to work on now? So what are you feeling called to perhaps start if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, or what are you feeling called to complete if you're in the Northern Hemisphere? Again, feel free to pause if you'd like a bit more writing time. And then your third and final question is, what would you like to have achieved by the December solstice? So what would you like to achieve over these next 6 months? And there's no right or wrong answers. It's all up to you. And if nothing's coming to your mind consciously, listen to those whispers from your subconscious. Listen to those nudges from the universe. Be open to whatever direction the universe is pushing you towards. So I've also got a few questions that you might like to ask your tarot or oracle cards. I'll go through these questions first, and then I'm going to pull a few cards to share with you as well, a bit of a collective solstice reading. So these 3 questions, if you'd like to pull your own cards at home. The first question is, what have you created in the past 6 months? So ask your cards, what have you created in the past 6 months? The next question for your cards is, what do you need to focus on now? What do you need to focus on now? And then the third and final question for your cards is, what will you create over the next 6 months? So I'm going to pull a few cards now and see what the cards have to share with us for this solstice. So today I'm going to be using the Starseed Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel. Danielle Noel, bit of a tongue twister, but amazing cards, amazing deck. So I'm going to give the cards a bit of a shuffle, blow off my energy, and tuning into what the collective needs to know, what we all need to know for this solstice. So the first question that I'm going to ask the cards for us all is, what have we collectively created over these past 6 months? Alrighty. Okay, so the first card we've pulled is, you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness. Face your true north. So I feel like what this card is saying, like what we've created over these past 6 months, is that we're finding more courage to be our true, authentic selves. I feel like collectively, like we've had like a lot of Uranus energy. Like for those who follow astrology, Uranus is that planet of shaking things up and embracing what makes you different. And so we've had Jupiter and Saturn hovering in Aquarius this year, ruled by Uranus. And Uranus has been making a few angles. Like one of the prominent angles that's featuring this year is Uranus square Saturn. So this is definitely tapping into that collective energy. We're all feeling these effects of Uranus and feeling that like Aquarius energy, which is all about embracing what makes us different and, you know, sharing that authentically, because we're not all the same. We're not here to be the same. We're not here to be clones of one another. We're not here to do everything the same. Like, we are here with our own unique perspectives, our own unique light to shine into the world. So I feel like for a lot of us over these past 6 months, we've been discovering what it is that makes us different, what it is that makes us unique, and we've been learning how to embrace that. So I'm going to pull the second card now for what collectively we need to be focusing on right now. Oops, pull 2 cards. I'm going to keep shuffling. If those cards were meant to be, I'm sure they'll come back out. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. So what we need to focus on right now is deep cellular healing, Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. And I love this card because I feel like, yes, like this is so what I'm seeing right now. There is so many people out there right now who I've seen reaching out to me or reaching out in groups that I'm in, because we're all seeking this healing. Like at the moment, we've got Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter was hovering in Aquarius for most of the year, and as Jupiter's made its way into Pisces now, which it will stay in for about the next 5-6 weeks, it's provoking this kind of mass spiritual awakening. And I think everyone, to some degree, is feeling like where they're unaligned on their spiritual path. They're feeling like, where they need to evolve to become more spiritual, to align with this spiritual path. And so I feel like with this mass spiritual awakening that's happening right now, there's this call for healing, because we're realizing where we're holding ourselves back on a physical level from reaching that spiritual enlightenment. I feel like a lot of us are realizing those habits that we're so used to doing that are bringing our health down. And when we're bringing our physical health down and we're needing that physical healing, it's really bringing our vibe down. So by healing our bodies physically, we're going to be able to raise our energetic vibration a lot more easily as well. So yeah, collectively right now, focusing on making those healing choices, focus on what's going to nourish your physical body. Like, yeah, I feel like in the spiritual realm, like, we're always talking about, the higher realms and stuff, but it's so important to focus on what's happening physically as well. Focus on what's happening in your physical body, and don't forget to nourish your physical body. So the last question we're going to be asking the cards is what collectively we'll be creating over the next 6 months, or I guess, what we need to focus on for the next 6 months, what collectively we want to bring into the world over these next 6 months. Okay. Oh, interesting. So this last card is wait. And it says, it's not yet time. Things are being woven. So I feel like over these next 6 months, perhaps collectively, we're going to be feeling like there's changes that we need to create in the world. There's things that we need to take action on. But the universe is like, no, slow down. It's not time yet. Be patient. And I feel like this really rings true, because like we're always trying to manifest things and rush into the next thing. And I know, looking at my own plate and the things I've got scheduled out for the rest of the year, like I'm already like, oh my God, there's like so much I want to do and not enough time. And so this message, like, it's really speaking to me, and I hope it's speaking to you as well. Like, I know that we have these big dreams and things that we want to manifest into our lives, but ultimately we're co-creating with the universe. Like, at the end of the day, we're putting our intentions out there, we're taking aligned action, but it's up for the universe to deliver those things to us. So over these next 6 months, if you're taking action, working towards your goals for the rest of the year, especially after this mid-year check-in with the solstice, and you're like, oh, this is what I still want to make this year. And, you're putting all these pieces together, but it's just not quite coming together. Just trust it's because the universe is just still weaving these things together, still putting things together, and it will manifest at the right timing. So really important message for everyone right now. Just, yeah, even though we're manifesting great things, things don't have to change overnight. You don't have to do everything this year. So just try to take a bit of a slower pace. So yeah, I hope that reading was insightful for you and gave you a bit of direction on where you need to go for the next 6 months after this solstice check-in. If things are still feeling kind of confusing, you need a bit more clarity and direction on what you need to be focusing on for the rest of the year, feel free to book in a reading. I would absolutely love to dive into your astrology chart and pull some cards just for you so that you can get that clarity and direction that you're looking for. Because I know it can be so frustrating sometimes when you like listening to collective readings or you're doing a reading for yourself even, and you just feel so unclear because it's not really honing in to the question that you're asking. So this is where a personal reading can really give you those answers that you seek, because you can get that answer that you're looking for. So the link for tarot and astrology bookings is in the show notes, and I'd love to connect with you to give you that clarity and guidance that you're looking for. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Herbal Moon Goddess podcast, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.